And here we go. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the community
Good
briefing.
morning.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the community briefing. Today is I always have to look, the 25th of August in the year 2022. My name is Gregory Sneed, and we are glad you are here to join us today. We always bring you valuable information to the community. Our guest today is Mr. Larry Keemer, and he is in food and product safety, and he'll be sharing more with us in just a few moments. So get yourself situated, introduce yourselves in the chat. We will be taking questions via chat. You guys know the rules. And also keep yourselves on mute while the presentation is happening. My name is Gregory Sneed. I have a company, Lifesaver Financial Services, where I help my clients keep more of the money they make. And I do that through life insurance solutions, financial coaching, and financial literacy training. Because I firmly believe that when you feel better about your money, you feel better about your life. And now, my pleasure to introduce to our virtual stage the queen of our community briefing, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you. It's another great day, another hot day in Los Angeles, but welcome. We have a great guest. I'm kind of excited. Food safety is really important. One of the reasons I actually started gardening was because I got tired of hearing announcements that they were pulling my lettuce off the shelves because of salmonella. So I thought if I raise my own food, then I know exactly what I'm about to eat. And so I'm excited to talk to you and hear you speak, as well as this is the platform, you guys, for us, by us, for you. It is the platform where we come together and network. It is powered and sponsored by Recycling Black Dollars and the BBA, Black Business Association. I am Crystal Mitchell. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as my own business, Mitchell Business Solutions. I provide education and training and resources and mentorship for the small business community. And what else is happening? We want to welcome everyone. We have a fantastic team on the community briefing. Mr. Gregory Sneed, myself, Mr. Stephen Turner, and Ms. Robin Billups. So we bring this to you every week. Please make sure you network. This is what this platform is all about. Besides bringing our leaders and stakeholders to our community, it is the motto of Recycling Black Dollars that we will support each other and show that we love each other, because that's what we're supposed to do. And before I turn it back over to Greg, I want to just say this past weekend, we all celebrated the retirement of Mr. Earl Skip Cooper, and we had a phenomenal time. You guys can go on Facebook, and there are hundreds and hundreds of pictures that are up showing us in all of our 70s attire. Some people I didn't even recognize because they had on their naturals and they did not look like they do today. But it was awesome. Skip was happy, and so it was a good send off. So go on over there and check out the pictures. If you guys know Carolyn Hines, go to Carolyn Hines' Facebook page, and she has over 100 pictures of everybody that was there. So enjoy those pictures, and we're going to turn it over. Mr. Danger Man with his cowboy hat on. Good to see you. You were missed last week. I am going to kick it back over to Greg Sneed.
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
So I just want to confirm your last name is Keener, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Your display on there says it has an M instead of N,
Yes.
so I just wanted to make sure I got that correct. We are back, and glad you are here. Our guest today is Mr. Larry Keener, and he has a couple designations there, and he's going to tell us what they are: CFS, PA, and IFT. He is a fellow. He is currently president and CEO of the International Product Safety Consultants, and he has been a food safety consultant for a number of years. He worked with Unilever as a director of product safety and regulatory affairs. He was also a corporate food safety officer. He has a degree from the UC Berkeley, and He's going to share with us. I didn't find out where he grew up. I know he mentioned he used to live here in Los Angeles. Don't know if you were born and raised here in LA. So he'll share that with us in just a moment. And he's got some good information for us. So please welcome to our virtual stage, Mr. Larry Keener.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sneed, and thank you, Crystal, and thanks again, Stephen, for introducing me to the community briefing and, more importantly, offering me some time to chat with you folks about what I do and how what I've been doing for more than the last 40 years has an impact on your daily lives. I work in food safety. Food safety is an emerging science, and I guarantee you that, and as Crystal pointed out, it's always interesting to me that in this journey, this last 40 plus years, I recall a time when consumers didn't know words like Escherichia coli or Salmonella or Campylobacter jejuni or Listeria monocytogenes, but you all know these things today. So that's been transformative. We have a more engaged consumer than we've ever had. We've had a consumer that's more interested in their food, where it comes from, and whether or not it's safe for them to consume. Uh, I am, like I said, a food safety scientist. I am also a board certified food scientist, CFS, that's that designation. I am a process authority, PA, which is a recognition from the Food and Drug Administration of my skill as a microbiologist and defining processes that can be used to make food safe. I am a member of the Institute of Food Technologists, and in 2013, um, I was elected fellow of that organization. In 2018, I was accorded a Lifetime Achievement Award in Mumbai, India, by the International Union of Food Science and Technology. And perhaps one of my crowning personal achievements was in January of this year being inducted a member of the George Washington Carver Society. Um, actually, I was born in Western Michigan, up halfway up the Southern Peninsula in a place called Muskegon. Moved to Los Angeles when I was a teenager. Graduated from Washington High School. Um, Took a detour to Southeast Asia and came back and finished up my work at university at Berkeley, as Gregory pointed out, studying microbiology. I'm the first African American scientist to be hired by the National Food Processors Association. That association was founded in 1918 in response to uh, the massive deaths that were associated with canned foods during the Spanish American War. I mean, the story goes that we killed more U.S. troops with tainted botulism containing canned foods than did the Spanish army. So, in response to that, the National Food Processors Association came into existence. And again, it was a great place for me to start. Leaving there, I went on to work for Unilever, ultimately becoming the director of product safety and regulatory affairs for that company and for its businesses in the Americas. That was quite a job. I never thought that microbiology would put me on every continent on this planet, with the exception of Antarctica. But I have been, and I have worked on every continent. I'm proud to say that I've worked for the Commonwealth Sciences Industry Research Organization as a consultant. That's the principal scientific house for Australia. I've worked for the Department of Defense. I've worked for the National Institute for Food Safety and Food Nutrition in Chicago, and most of the big multinational food companies, the Nestle's, the ConAgras, the Heinz Crafts, all of these, the Pepsi-Cola company, all of these people have been my clients at one time or another, are my clients currently. Food safety is an emerging discipline. 20 years ago, for example, the major universities in the United States did not offer a single class in food safety. About a year ago, one of the major land grant universities I see offered now a degree in food safety. Until about 1986, the only reference to food safety at the national federal level was the Food Safety Inspection Service of the United States Department of Agriculture, and a Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition at the Food and Drug Administration. So this is, even though we can go back to 1785 and Massachusetts passed the first general food law, which ostensibly was intended to regulate and make sure that food sold in the Commonwealth was safe. Now, remember, 1785, the Constitution of the United States wasn't ratified and signed until 1788. So this intent to do food safety has been there for a very, very long time. We have a rapidly growing population on this planet. It's projected by 2050 that there will be 10 billion mouths that need feeding. 10 billion mouths that will need safe water. Agriculture that will be dependent on clean water and agricultural water to grow the crops to feed that 10 billion people. Food safety is increasingly important in our daily lives. So what is food safety? Food safety, again, when I started in this business, it occurred to me once that there wasn't a cogent, coherent definition for food safety. So I do what I do. I took the initiative and I offered up a definition, a peer-reviewed definition. Food safety is the status, the biological, chemical, or physical status of a food that will allow its consumption without incurring excessive risk of injury, morbidity, or mortality. Uh, I came up with that. I passed it by leaders at the Food and Drug Administration, leading scientists from the International Commission of Microbiological Specifications for Food, as a peer review process. And they said, hey, Larry, you're onto something. And so it has gone on to be kind of the accepted definition for food safety. Now, that's about the food. A lot of what I do is about the processes, the methods of making and ensuring food is safe. So that's a different proposition. It's about the methodology. And so process validation, risk assessment, failure modes effect analysis, uh, root cause analysis. These are the kinds of tools that I use. And I think I've said that I am a microbiologist, but I tell people that I am a technical businessman. I use my science training and skills to solve business problems that will enable them to put safe food in the marketplace and thereby create shareholder value for their investors. Um, uh, Claim to fame, 2010, um, pressure assisted thermal sterilization of food. Never, ever, any place on this planet had there been regulatory approval to use 800 megapascals of pressure and 90 degrees Celsius for sterilization and inactivation of Clostridium botulinum in commercially prepared foods. I succeeded in doing that. In 2015, I succeeded again with bringing pressure enhanced sterilization using higher pressures and lower temperatures to again inactivate the deadly uh, Clostridium, the deadly neurotoxin of Clostridium botulinum in foods. Just at the close of 2021, I enabled a European company, a European engineering company, to take low energy electron beam sterilization technology to the marketplace. Again, securing approval as a process authority from the Food and Drug Administration uh, to allow the use of that technology in the production of food that were intended for human consumption. On a more pedestrian kind of basis, we help companies in their product development cycle, looking at new ideas, new thinking, new ingredients, new foods, and kind of giving them a heads up early on in the process. That here are some watch outs and some things that you need to be careful of. I also sit on the Science Advisory Board and Food Safety Advisory Board for several of the leading food manufacturing companies in the United States. I started International Product Safety Consultants in 1996. And when I wrote the business plan, I focused on those food companies that had net proceeds from sales that were about $500 million, $500 million enterprises. But for all of you who have written business plans, you know that those are flawed and fanciful documents. I, in fact, ended up working for those companies that earn billions of dollars a year. And by the way, the food processing industry in the United States, the packaged food business in the United States, is a $1.2 trillion enterprise. It's lots of money. And it's good to go into the supermarkets um, and and walk through the supermarkets with my family and know that just about every aisle in the market has my fingerprints on the products that are there. So I think now I don't know, Crystal and Gregory, do have I done enough talking, and perhaps we can turn this back over and we can go to a Q&A.
Yeah, you've laid the groundwork pretty good, and I'm sure that there were a number of terms in there that may have baffled our group. Especially when you start talking about the high pressure um, pasteurization, high
Uh-huh.
pressure irradiation.
Uh-huh.
I know that there's some things called e-beam,
Uh-huh.
So I guess going back historically, old school salts were used as preservation,
Yeah.
uh,
And
and
sugar.
and sugar,
Yep.
and then now certain then chemical, and then different cannings and what
Hmm.
have you. So
Hmm.
um, I would say, well, first I'd ask a question: does this make you more comfortable or scared to death when you go to a place?
Well,
I don't.
yeah,
If I did what you did, I would be scared to death even walking in a restaurant. I was like, I got to see the kitchen before I eat anything.
uh, I certainly look at those places differently than most people, for sure. But about the industry, um, it's been great working with the international food manufacturing industry. By far, these people want to do things right because they know that human life is in the balance. I mean, we look at this situation with the infant formula. Uh, that's a that's a that's a bad situation involving a relatively obscure microorganism, Chronobacter sakazaki. And when I first encountered this organism about 25 years ago, it was called Enterobacter sakazaki. So it's a dynamic marketplace, Gregory, and it's changing. And yeah, salt is still a very effective curing agent, a very effective preservative. But then there are the sequela, high blood pressure.
Mm.
So there are the trade-offs. And so now we try and use things like high pressure, and we don't have to add any chemical preservatives. We don't have to add. We use pressure to preserve and stabilize the substrate so that it is safe when you eat it. That's why it is breakthrough technology with uh, pressure assisted thermal sterilization and pressure enhanced sterilization are so significant. And you will hear more and more, I guarantee you, in the next 5 years about high pressure processed food products.
Yeah, one of those bacteria sounded like George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic came up with that. What was it? Is Bakazaki or something?
Sakazaki. So you going back, you having another 70s moment, huh?
Exactly, exactly. Where does the United States fall in terms of the FDA? Where do we rank in terms of food safety? Are we near the top, or are we
Yeah.
lagging behind? Where do we?
Excellent question. Excellent question. So, so there are, and I've written about this. I've written extensively about this, and we are certainly among the leaders. Um, I don't know that we are the leader any longer, but we're certainly in that top quartile. It used to be that I could answer that confidently and say that the U.S. was really the leader. The rest of the world looked to us, and that was because back in 1906, Teddy Roosevelt signed off on the Pure Food Law for the United States. And in 1938, we amended that to become the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. So we have in this country a long history of codifying rules and regulations that govern uh, the safety of food and food products. That was emulated by the rest of the world. The rest of the world looked at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for guidance. The best example that I can think of in recent history is China. China essentially picked up uh, our laws and regulations related to food and food safety and rewrote them in Chinese and codified. They just, rather than reinvent the wheel, they just said, well, what the United States is doing is good, and they've adopted it. So other countries are doing that. And with the passage of the um, Barack Hussein Obama Food Safety Modernization Act in 2011, that again uh, has been focused at building food safety capacity for our supply chain members. So that means that anybody who is sending food into the United States because of the Food Safety Modernization Act have to meet the same standards of production and processing that do companies in the United States. That's a hallmark of the Obama Food Safety Modernization Act. So yeah, we're in the leadership, but I don't know anymore that we're the leaders.
Right. What are some of the? This is a twofold question here. What are some of the safest foods for us to eat? And then on the other end of the spectrum, what perhaps are more one of some of the more dangerous foods to eat? And I'll bring up recent thing in the news where I think one or two people died from the raw oysters, and I think it was Massachusetts. So what are the safest, and what are the things that you think are little
Well,
quote unquote
Gregory,
dangerous?
You've done your homework. So and it's very interesting. It's a great segue. The raw oysters, because of viruses, um, and because of uh, Vibrios, um, probably rank right up there among the unsafest foods to eat,
Ooh.
without a doubt. But as it turns out, high pressure processing has changed that rubric. High pressure processing was initially used by the oyster industry at the beginning of work with high pressure. It was that segment who picked it up, and they got a twofold benefit because they when you pressurize the oyster, it causes the mantle muscle to disengage, and so shucking becomes it shucks the oyster, and high pressure also killed the virus and bacteria that cause it to be unsafe. So if you go to the store now and you find these gold band oysters that have been high pressure processed, they're pretty safe to eat. But the safest foods to eat now, that's kind of interesting because we say that if it's not safe to eat, it's not food. But the canned foods have changed our economy in this country. Canned food have changed our diets in this country, and I dare say around the world. We take for granted refrigeration in the United States, but if you've traveled outside the United States and you understand that electricity is not routinely available, so that means that mechanically generated refrigeration is not available. So um, thermally processed, shelf stable food products are the safest by far. I mean, and so we go back to 1918 with the founding of the National Food Processors Association. And that's what we focused on. We focused on the science of inactivating these very, very deadly bacteria and their neurotoxins. Many of you have heard of botulism, but I want to just tell you right now that botulism is the most deadly toxin ounce for ounce. And that's a big, we talk in scales of Daltons. Dalton for Dalton, the most toxic substance naturally occurring known to man. It will kill you. We have now some vaccines to help out if the clinicians in the emergency room properly diagnose um, neurotoxin exposure when you arrive there. Now you can be treated and you stand a good chance of surviving. 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. You got botulism, it was going to kill you. So we've taken care of that. The Crystal mentioned salmonella in lettuce. The big problem with lettuce hasn't really been salmonella, it's been with Escherichia coli, E. coli 015787 specifically. And um, uh, we have lots of things happening here. We have lots more people to feed. We have lots more acreage that needs to be tilled to produce the volume of leafy greens that are consumed annually. And we're encroaching at the interface between cattle ranching and farming. And at that interface, we have the opportunity and the risk of cross contamination. Now, Coalinga, California, for you Californians, you know that there's a big feedlot. You smell it when you go up I-5. And right adjacent to Coalinga are the California Aqueduct and the area for growing fresh produce. So it's speculated that cow manure has migrated from the feedlots onto the growing areas, and we've gotten E. coli established in the 015787 established in the fields. And I always say 015787 because for most of you who aren't aware that without E. coli, we as a species would not exist. We would not exist. They are commensal. They live in our gut. They're part of our gut biome, and they play a very important role in preserving our lives. But these mutants, like 015787, produce a enterotoxin or virogenic toxin that's very dangerous, and that's why we've had the deaths from leafy greens, and we've had people suffering from human uremic syndrome, where the E. coli attack the kidneys and shut the kidneys down and ultimately kill people.
So there's good E. coli and bad E. coli.
Yes,
That there's a burning
absolutely.
question here that Stephen asked, and I'm desperately looking to get the answer to it. Are bananas safe?
If I wash my bananas, Stephen.
He hesitated, man.
uh, and I tell you, here I'm gonna tell you why people don't wash their hands. I don't care how hard we try, how hard we promote this as the best, absolutely best method for improving the public health of the people in the United States. We can't get people to wash their hands. So that means in the time that your banana was picked in Costa Rica, and went through the supply chain terminal, entering the port at Los Angeles or Long Beach or Miami. it probably had been handled and touched by human beings several times, and then once again, once it was went through a produce terminal and was delivered to Safeway or Vons or Kroger's, and it was put out on the shelves for display. Again, it was touched and handled by several human beings. So when you take it home and you peel it, you've transferred potentially some human pathogens to your hands. And so I wash them off before I eat them. Uh, Humans are integral, necessary parts of the supply chain. Human beings are also a great vector for the transfer of pathogens across the supply chain.
And that was very obviously we learned that with the with the pandemic that and also monkeypox now is that
More,
more and
um,
more diseases are coming to us because it's coming via people. Um, and then we are so close together and there's so many of us, so easy to create a massive eruption, I would say.
it's
Crystal, you had a question too about our GMO products make any difference in the food? You know, either more healthy or less healthy, or not much difference.
so this is you ask it a scientist. So from my perspective, there's no difference. You know, Carver, my hero. Most people don't know this. George Washington Carver, in writing his master's at Iowa State, wrote his thesis was the genetic modification of the cacti.
Hmm.
Carver worked on genetic modification of plants. Carver genetically modified sweet potatoes. Carver genetically modified soybeans, but he used different techniques than we are using today. He
Mm,
used he used techniques of, cross pollination. Anytime you cross pollinate, you're genetically modifying.
mm,
So we now have the ability to look at the genetic material of these plants, look at the genes that turn on uh, different attributes, different traits, go in and select those genes and transfer them into another organism. And we can do that now with great specificity and great capability, thanks to the great scientists at the University of California at Berkeley. A couple years ago, you recall that the biologist at Cal received a Nobel Prize for her work in the technique called CRISPR. And with CRISPR, this is a gene editing tool that has a bright future for improving public health and treating such diseases like thalassemia major and thalassemia minor, sickle cell anemia, and in other genetic conditions in human beings. It also portends um, an improvement in our food supply. By 2050, there will be 10 billion of us who need to be fed. We
mm,
need to bring every ounce of our learning and understanding and science to bear on providing food for that many people. Think about it, 10 billion people by 2050. How are we going to do that? Right now, there are 800 million of our brothers and sisters on this planet who go to bed hungry every night. In the United States, the great United States of America, the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that somewhere between 30 and 40,000 infants and small children in this country go to bed malnourished. They go to bed food insecure. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. That's here. So yes, genetic modification. I know everybody, it's an emotional subject because we're introducing a new technology, but genetically modified foods are essentially no different, and they have to be no different by scientific analysis. The no difference is not a nebulous term. The no difference demands analysis and confirmation that it's no different than the original food.
One
Okay.
last question we have here is: what is the impact on food safety in uh, communities of color that are experiencing food insecurity?
Um, People who are food insecure are willing to take risks with food that food secure people do not. And as a result of taking that risk with foods, with leftovers, with they're willing to take risks that we're not, and so therefore there is a potential for an increased burden of food safety in those communities. So look, let's talk about um, uh, um, the pandemic, um, and we it's speculated that in Wuhan, food insecure people were eating bats, or in with Ebola in West Africa, it's speculated that human beings were eating monkeys and bats because they were food insecure. Food insecure people take risk because they are hungry. So again, I'm gonna go back and say by 2050, we're gonna have 10 billion people to feed. And if food insecurity is right now giving rise to pandemic, I think I think that puts it into a perspective that makes it easier for other people to understand.
All righty. Thank you so much. I say to you guys, get your garden going on. At least you can eat some fruits and vegetables. I got a whole backyard full of things that we eat. We have more than enough, but it's important. And that was one of the reasons, Larry, my sister and I decided to do that was because we were concerned about what was being offered and the touching of the people and all that sort of stuff. But I do think you're absolutely right. And in other countries like China, they eat everything, every piece of the ounce of the whatever the animal puts out, they eat
Uh,
it. And
uh,
some of us are, I guess we're not that food insecure.
yeah, you're not hungry.
We're not that hungry.
Right,
true,
right.
true that. Um, and there was also another question. So, well, in the state of well, in the United States, we do limit our farmers on what we're producing, and a lot of times their crops go to seed because the government regulates all of that. So, if we do have the insecurity for low income people to eat. Why are we controlling it on that side when the more food that can come to market can feed more people and
I'm
actually at a lower cost?
I'm gonna turn that over to Gregory because this is how capitalism works.
Uh,
I mean, I'm, I mean, that sounds like a glib response, but the truth of the matter is that when the farmer has to till a crop under, he leaves it in the field to go to seeds. It doesn't make it to the marketplace. It bolsters the price of those goods that make it to the marketplace. It's just it's capitalism. It's capitalism at its finest. Before I left Cal, they made sure that we read Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. So that kind of colors, also kind of colors your understanding of how these things work. We grow enough food right now on this planet to feed that 10 billion people. that I'm talking about for 2050, but we can't deliver it. We don't have the will to deliver it. We don't have the will to alleviate that suffering that's caused by malnutrition.
Mm-hmm. Wow, wow, that's and that then that explains a lot of things because one of the things I just could not understand is how a country as advanced as we are got to a place where we had no baby formula and we only got two, three companies that are producing it, and all the babies that are being born. That just is just like what the heck.
Yeah, and there are other cases like that. There are other cases like that too, where we, as Americans, have surrendered our food supply to our supply chain partners. We bring in a lot of food that could easily be produced here, but because of labor and labor cost, it's cheaper to bring the food in from across the border or across the seas than it is to have our farmers grow it and deliver it to the marketplace.
Capitalism too.
That's a sad reality.
Larry,
Wow.
Larry, I want to personally thank you for the works that you've done over the last 40 years that we can personify the safety in the foods that we consume and the impact that you've had on, I'm sure, with the FDA and a number of your corporate clients who have adopted practices and adopted procedures that have made food safer for all of us to eat. So thank you for me, and thank you for all of us for all that you've done, because that's quite amazing, and it's wonderful for us to see that it's someone from our community. So we salute you there.
There was one question though, since you are behind the scenes. Emily wants to know, what do you eat, sir? I know you must have a hard time at the supermarket.
I'm gonna answer that question. I eat very carefully.
I may not want to know.
When you say you eat very carefully. You guys might want to take down his contact information and find out what his menus consist of and duplicate yours.
I was going to ask him about sushi. I said, nah, I don't want to know.
You don't.
Yeah, well, I learned very early on, eat nothing raw. Cook everything to death. Leanna wants to tell you that the food secure global chains need to be created for feeding every human being from this world. Thank you, dear Larry, for your deep human words of from a ethnic scientist.
Thank you. Thank you.
We do appreciate all that you have done, and you have informed us. Richard Palais just said, wow, this man is absolutely amazing. So, and he says, but of course you guys know because you brought him to the community briefing. But what we want to make sure, I understand that knowledge is power, and the more knowledge we have, the more power we have. So whatever area, we need to hear from people, and that's why we bring the leaders and stakeholders out to talk to us. Because Larry, I'd never heard of you, and knew that there was food safety. Is glad to know that there's a black person there as well. I'm sure maybe there are others, but for right now I only know about you. So thank you so much for all the work that you've done in our community in regards to food safety. We do appreciate that, and I guess we're all alive today because you have been out there doing your work diligently.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You are so welcome, and I think you should take that radio voice and create a podcast so that you can keep us well informed. Stephen, you want to tell us who's going to be here next week? You're on mute.
Just before he tells us who's going to be here next week, Professor Keener, I have just one quick question. Thank you, Kimberly and Gregory and Stephen. These are always amazing opportunities when I'm here. The one question I have for you, Professor, is your availability, if I could make a platform available to you to speak this to whomever will listen, how do I reach you to set up how that works, what it costs to do that, and just to make sure our Black restaurateurs here in Los Angeles learn what they need to know for real and for sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's International Product Safety Consultants, and the web page is foodsafetyprofessionals.com. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I'm available. The contact information is available from LinkedIn. Um, and
And as
after
well as
the
Richard, you can contact me.
contact Stephen. Stephen has my home address, home phone number, and my contact details.
Awesome, awesome. And what was that book you mentioned, Larry?
I've edited a book on called the Regulating the Safety of Traditional and Ethnic Foods in 2015. But look, Crystal, I've published more than 150 peer-reviewed papers on topics in microbiology, food safety, capacity building, regulatory compliances. So there's a bunch of stuff out there with my name on it.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, we're just so pleased that you took the time out to be with us today. Thank you, Stephen, for your casual meeting in the Chicago airport. And that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Larry, for joining us today. And please come back anytime you have anything to share with us. We are here all ears, listening, because we want to acquire our power, and we will get it from scientists like yourself and your colleagues.
Yeah,
Looking
Professor
forward to it.
Cantor, what a segment that resonated with a lot of our listeners, and this will be on YouTube for others to follow who could not join today. Next week, we have the honor of having Kimberly Brown, who's going to talk about business opportunity for Black women in the commercial real estate space. So next Thursday, Kimberly Brown.
Okay, all righty. I think Emma Maxey's on here. Emma, we just want to thank you. You guys did an absolutely fantastic job on Saturday. We all had a good time. We've been talking about it from Saturday night on into this week. So thank you guys in the committee that that you guys showed out.
Thank you guys for showing up, and it was a wonderful time, and I'm sure Skip Cooper is very pleased with the outcome. And now I'm asking all of you that are not members of the BPA, please join. It's going to be a new Black Business Association going forward, and we need all of your support. So I'm looking forward to increasing the membership and starting with you.
All righty. So thank you very much. I met Emma's son as well. He's so tall. So thank you guys for coming. Keep him in. Well, yeah, all our children had to be kept in prayer.
Well, he took the bar, so we're hoping by November we'll find out if he passed the bar or not.
Okay, all right. Well, we will send up prayers for him passing the bar.
Passing the bar, yes.
Awesome. Everyone enjoyed your presentation, Larry, and somebody said, "Oh my God, I love sushi." I have to give up sushi.
I didn't want to know too much. It's like,
Nor do I.
So you guys go all who I don't eat anything raw myself, but you guys all gonna have to do some reevaluation.
Eat raw fruits and raw vegetables.
Well, I eat raw fruits and vegetables, yes, but they're growing in my yard. I wash them several times before they get to the table.
Water.
Oh yeah, water, huh?
And Larry, one more time. What's that? That the bacteria from the infant formula was kakalaki. What was that one?
Oh, who knew science?
I wanted to hear it again.
Sakazaki.
Sakazaki. No, there was another one before that.
Well,
that was the George Clinton reference.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
And where do you guys come up with these terms? You hear this, see this, and go, oh yeah, let's call this one Isakalaki.
Well, that's part of the charm of doing this is that you get to name them. You get to name them after you discover it. You get to give it your name. So
Okay.
Boom shakalaka.
You won't know whether it's gonna kill you or make you dance.
And you will be dancing as your head goes to hit the floor. It's
At least I go out partying. That's it.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone, for
so
joining us today. And we will see you guys next Thursday. You can go find this one humorous about your food intake on YouTube and our Recycling Black Dollars Facebook page. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. And we will see you back here next Thursday at 11 a.m. And please stay in, share. We want to continue to grow the community briefing. It's fun over here, huh? Every Thursday morning.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, we enjoyed you.
I was late.
We'll make sure you get the video. I know, because you missed the shakalaki laki.
They wouldn't let me leave. That's all I know.
All right, guys. See you next week. Have a great weekend.
Okay,
Stay
guys.
cool, stay dry, stay safe.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.